Alright folks, welcome back to another video right here on Jason's Wrestling Channel. Today I'm going to talk to you about the last WCW Monday Nitro on the Turner Network. Now what happened was, everyone knows about the merger of AOL and Time Warner. They were merging back in 1999. And WCW had been on the Turner Network for years. TBS was called the wrestling station. And the people that owned AOL saw WCW and they said, get rid of it. We don't want it. So then they put it up for auction. Eric Bischoff said to Brad Siegel, he goes, why don't you let me try and find a buyer for WCW? So Brad Siegel said, okay, you come up with a buyer and we'll sell the company. Now Eric Bischoff had a lot of people lined up to buy it. And I guess he had come up with a company that was interested in buying it. And they were getting ready to sign the papers when all of a sudden Brad Siegel called Eric Bischoff and said, Eric, the deal's off. We have a higher bidder. Eric Bischoff goes, what do you mean it's off? He goes, we signed a letter of content. And he's like, the deal's off. He's like, we can't sell you the company. And then Eric Bischoff goes, well, I don't know what to do. Because, and they're like, all right. I'll sell you the logos and the rings, but we won't give you TV time. Eric Bischoff goes, well, without TV time, WCW is really worth nothing. So then he backed out of the deal. So Vince McMahon bought WCW, and a lot of the talent at the time did not know what was going on. They didn't know if the company was closing. They didn't know if they were going to have another night on television. They didn't even know if they were going to have a job. So then what happened was, they saw WWF trucks pulling up in their parking lots at the arena that they were at. And the talent started freaking out. So the show starts out with Vince McMahon on the big screen, talking about how he had bought WCW and how WCW's fate is in his hands. He didn't appreciate WCW beating him in the ratings. He didn't appreciate WCW giving the results of his show away back when Nitro first started. So WCW's fate was in Vince McMahon's hands. Now the show starts out with Booker T and Scott Steiner. Scott Steiner was the WCW champion. He came out to the ring and he defended the world title against Booker T. Booker T ended up winning. Now, the only thing I think that they did wrong, so usually the champion comes out last. Scott Steiner should have came out last. But usually when they do it the other way, where the champion comes out first, you know the champion's losing the title. And then they did a segment with Ric Flair where he came out and he talked about WCW and how Vince McMahon held WCW in his palm of his hands. And he's like, does that mean that you hold Jack Briscoe, Terry Funk, Dory Funk Jr. in the palm of your hands? Luger, Sting, and it kept going on and on. And he's like, we bled and we sweat. We were WCW. He goes, does that mean that you hold all that in the palm of your hands? And he goes, he said he didn't think so. So then that segment ended. So the show goes on, and it's getting later on in the night. Vince McMahon goes out to the arena where the WWF show is being held. And he's talking about WCW's future. And eventually he said WCW is going to remain on the shelf. It's going to remain. WCW is buried. WCW will remain buried. Just like all you that will get in my way. All of a sudden, up on the Titantron, the screen, Shane McMahon shows up in a WCW ring in Panama Beach, Florida. Vince is like, where are you, Shane? Where are you? Shane McMahon goes, surprise, Dad. He's like, you're in Cincinnati, Ohio, and I'm in Panama Beach, Florida, standing in a WCW ring. And then he's like, you wanted Ted Turner to walk to the ring and finalize this deal at WrestleMania? Because they were in a feud at WrestleMania. And he's like, well, that's exactly the opportunity I was looking for. And he's like, the deal is finalized with WCW. And he goes, but the contract does say McMahon. But however, the contract reads Shane McMahon. And he's like, that's right. I now own WCW. Vince McMahon stood in the middle of the ring like he was shocked. Like he was about ready to cry. So then they had an invasion angle later on. It was like after WrestleMania. So where Shane McMahon showed up with Booker T. Booker T ended up invading Monday Night Raw. Vince McMahon tried to keep the WCW wrestlers off of his show. But then Shane got the okay to start having WCW matches on Raw and stuff because it was part of an angle where they were doing a WCW invasion on Monday Night Raw. And I'll talk to you about that in my next video. And please subscribe to my channel. And if you like karaoke, please subscribe to the Flash Gordon Karaoke channel 5000. Have a wonderful day.